shortly the realization came that there is no good wallet around, and essentially is that any decentralized application, any DApp, any application, any service that needs to talk to blockchain and do something a bit more other than reading information is essentially a wallet under the hood. Yeah, and since then we started building wallet, and with time, maybe over the once we kind of mastered the tech, we understood that okay, we are not just learning by building the wallet, but we actually want to build a wallet slash platform for for parking your wealth basically, and that's how we kind of ended up building Unstoppable.
This podcast is sponsored by Coin ATM Radar. When buying crypto with cash, an ATM is much more reliable and safer than meeting some random person in a random place. And unlike an exchange, which could freeze your account, you truly own all the crypto you buy. With Coin ATM Radar, you could find crypto ATMs and other services where you can buy and sell cryptocurrencies for cash. On their website, you can search by coin, address, if the ATM supports selling as well as buying, and you can also search by geo area, country, state, city. You can also check and compare actual current fees at different ATMs. If you want to find out more, head over to coinatmradar.com, which is coinatmradar.com. So hey everyone, I have the fantastic pleasure of speaking with the one and only Aibek of Horizontal Systems. How's it going?
Going well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've heard about Unstoppable Wallet in particular for many years, especially kind of through the Zcash community. And of course, lately we've been working together a little bit closer on the Dash side, for example. And so I definitely wanted to catch up with you and kind of get your perspective on a lot of things in the space, because we're definitely at a shift in the crypto world. So would you mind telling the viewers who you are and what you do and how you got into crypto originally?
So I got into crypto in 2018. I'm a builder by heart. So since for the last 20 years, I've been building startups basically. And back, I had a few companies which did fairly well. Some of them got acquired. But so throughout those years, back in 2017, I think, while working on one SAS startup, so we basically had like some kind of regulatory issues where our bank account was closed and so on. And that what pivoted me business-wise to crypto. Like before that, I had interest in crypto, like and cryptography as well, and was actually first introduced to Bitcoin back in 2017. And back in 2013. So, and my introduction happened through the course on Udemy. And so I took that course. That course was actually authored by Charles Hoskinson, the Cardano founder. So that's how I discovered Bitcoin back in 2013. Well, I knew about it, I heard about it, but actually looked into it back in 2013. And and it was on my personal radar since then. In 2017, when we started having issues with the company bank accounts and so on, we kind of, I pivoted my then current startup into crypto, and we started working in crypto full time. And we started with building a wallet. Building the wallet is the best way to actually understand the technology, because essentially there is no backend as such. Like if you stick to the decentralization and blockchains, you kind of remove that need to build any sophisticated backend systems. Well, for the most part. Uh, so and yeah, we started with the wallet with the idea that we need to do something in crypto to actually learn it. And pretty shortly, the realization came that there is no good wallet around, and essentially is that any decentralized application, any DApp, any application, any service that needs to talk to blockchain and do something a bit more other than reading information is essentially a wallet under the hood. Yeah, and since then we started building wallet, and with time, maybe over the like once we kind of mastered the tech, we understood that okay, we are not just learning by building the wallet, but we actually want to build uh, a wallet slash platform for yeah, for parking your wealth basically, and that's how we kind of ended up building Unstoppable. So it's yeah.
Yeah. Now, is Unstoppable the only thing that Horizontal Systems produces right now, or the major thing, or are there other products?
Well, over the years, over the last like maybe 8 years, we for the first 4 years we worked mainly on Unstoppable, but since the last few years we started experimenting with DEXes. So we built a few. Actually, we built a few. They didn't catch up as such, but so the wallet is a flagman product, we call it. So it's a good way for us to get to know tech. So when there is a new blockchain or a new DEX being launched, it's we first need to integrate it into Unstoppable. Yeah. So, but at the same time, we work on well, right now our core product is Unstoppable, and the second core product is a DEX. So essentially, not really a DEX, but meta DEX, as in meta aggregation, DEX aggregation service. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. Uh,
Yeah. It's a. I have to admit, I like that philosophy of you kind of learn through doing before you could kind of move on from there. And that was kind of my philosophy when getting started in crypto. Is I thought I should sort of force myself to use it as much as possible, so then I actually understand the technology. And probably if I didn't use it, I would have still been mostly focused on Bitcoin up until today, or up until
yeah.
recently. And it's I kind of started mostly exploring other things in 2016, because that's when the practical user experience did kind of shift. And so yeah, it's a and I have to say I have used just about every wallet under the sun, like over the years. Every time I open my phone, the list of wallets is like 12, 14 wallets, and the beta tester for everything. And so the Q, I should maybe I should update my job description to amateur volunteer QA engineer. So because of how many of these things. Unstoppable is most like a learning tool for what to actually build after. What's kind of the design philosophy and the goals of the wallet?
Well, first thing, things there are like many wallets around, right? And we personally consider ourselves as a niche wallet. So our focus is mainly on privacy, on and on people who basically privacy and access to markets. And when I say access to markets, I mean borderless access to markets, as in like if you need to do a KYC to swap a token, there is a barrier, right? So, and we don't like that. So what we are after is to provide users who need privacy and at the same time borderless access to everything that is in crypto. Yeah. So that's the the engineering philosophy. So like that's how what we are after, and it's an iterative process which takes years basically. So but so yeah, when when people ask us, like how unstoppable is different from, let's say, trust wallet, and for the most part, people who cannot make that distinction or understand what are the certain qualities unstoppable has by reading them, well, for them, likely that we are not the right tool. Yeah, usually those that come to use us, they already know why they wanted to use us, and this can be things like, well, when we say privacy, right, it's very broad term, and it's not entirely clear, okay, how one wallet can be more private than the other, right? Because all of them give you those 12 words. All non-custodial wallets give you 12 words, or like 24 or 15. So yeah, and but there are lots of aspects to the privacy part which few understand, and one of those aspects can be like being open source. Yeah,
Of
uh,
course.
yeah, since we are open source, we don't have to claim that we work in a certain way. We can state that we work in a certain way, and the community can go and verify it. Yeah, we also put privacy above the convenience. In other words, sometimes we are not able to add certain features because they jeopardize the privacy aspect of the app. And one of them, like more obvious such features, are push notifications. So like a lot of people who discover Unstoppable at some point ask us, okay, why there is no push notifications, and we have to explain, okay, that push notifications, the way they currently engineered in and they are not really privacy friendly also, and these are the most basic examples, right? There are like many other aspects that a wallet can be more one wallet can be more private than the other, and uh, if you're familiar with lots of wallets, you'll see that when it comes to Bitcoin, Dash, so those UTXO-based blockchains, Bitcoin, Dash, Litecoin, privacy coins fall in that category. So some wallets, like let's say, well, I don't want to name certain wallets, but if you see a wallet syncing instantly, so you didn't open your wallet. Let's say you didn't open a wallet for a few days, then you like open it and see that the coins are synced within a couple of seconds. Well, it's convenient for sure, but it basically means that the wallet provider likely knows your balance and entire transaction history. I mean, a blockchain like Bitcoin is not really as public as Ethereum is, but it still provides some level of privacy. Yeah, there is some level of privacy, but when a wallet gives you an instant sync, that level goes to zero. Yeah, it becomes on the level of Ethereum basically. So yeah, it kind of neutralizes your privacy completely. They know your balances, they know your transaction history, and they know your IP address. So that's kind of, yeah, it's kind of as public as it can get, basically. So yeah, that's another aspect of it, and there are a lot of points here and there, which kind of take a bit of your privacy, and after some and most of those products basically can look as private, but essentially they are not, and that's one aspect. The second aspect is that a lot of those products introduce KYC features, and as a result, they're not just like know everything about your balances, but they also essentially know about who you are and uh, your private data, and 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 also we can't really be sure that how those companies, what kind of protocols they have in place, internal ones, how that data is being handled. You know, uh, I for one knew I for one like had fairly reliable like rumor about one provider wallet that I know, that the internal team of that wallet basically knows, has access to the KYC data of the entire user base. And they told me some funny things about the data, and that was kind of sad. Yeah, that was sad. And they can not only they know the users, but they can actually sort of with a fairly good, fairly confidently say the nature of specific transactions. Yeah. So, and yeah, and basically, long story short, the wallets that are out there are not private, and they are not. Uh, they are not. Very few wallets try to uh, build, try to deliver to the users access to markets, especially those that are not, that do not have them. For example, if you're based in Western Europe or US, likely like you, yeah, it's only a matter of preference whether you want to use Coinbase or not, or let's say some other exchange, But for a large part of the world, it's not an option. Like you can access, let's say, Binance in a lot of countries, but depositing funds from your bank account there and withdrawing is not an option. So if you already have crypto, you can kind of send it there and do stuff with it. But but yeah. So let's say someone has funds, cash, yeah, from I don't know, from some kind of local brick and mortar business the person has, but there is no easy way for a large portion of the world to take that cash and put it into crypto. Yeah, and stable coins made it significantly easier. That we saw it, but yeah, there is still a barrier, and that's type of things we try to like provide our users with, provide them with privacy, and provide them with access to markets, and being able to how to say it, like well, we have users who prefer to do large volume swaps in our wallet rather than do it on exchange, and in some cases it's not always cost friendly. Although as we keep introducing more and more DEXes, it becomes like significant, in some cases even better than on Binance, but still sometimes you have to pay a premium in order to be able to do a large trade. But nonetheless, it's still an option, and for those who do not have that option to do it via exchange, it's a good option.
Yeah, for sure. And I have to say, like, I do every once in a while check the statistics for swap volumes across like Thorchain and the Maya protocol. And there's a great site called Xscanner which shows wallets and services that do it. And I always like when I see Unstoppable show up on there, it's like, oh look, a lot of people are putting volume through. And what you were saying about the different ways wallets are constructed, and most of them have nothing on privacy, is very accurate. I think I've found most wallets out there tend to be extremely basic wallets from the actual technical perspective, and then they plug in so many different features and widgets and things, which mostly have things to do with trading, as far as like price charts, or plug in your Binance wallet or custodians and trading and things, even if it's a non-custodial wallet. And I remember a good friend of mine was a Bitcoin investor and user since about 2010, and I remember he always complained that he couldn't find a single mobile wallet that had coin control, for example, where coin control lets you, for UTXO blockchains, of course, lets you decide which actual UTXOs you spend and which ones you don't spend, because he was very careful with his privacy to not commingle funds from different addresses, to not prove that you owned both of them, etc. And one thing of course, connecting, coin control. There's actually very few, even privacy-focused wallets that have coin control. There's very few that let you connect your own node. There's a few that let you do Tor, but it's still relatively specialized. And the syncing part is something that I've experienced a lot recently, like the last few years, because I've been, of course, testing a bunch of different wallets, and I've had to resync many times. So I've spent literal days resyncing wallets, and my wife is very annoyed at me. She's like, "You're resyncing again? When is that going to be done?" But especially during the whole Zcash wallet problems of like 2022 or 3, the sandblasting attack. I remember spending weeks syncing wallets, trying to get them up so I could use them. And so for the end user, of course, this is not ideal, but at the same time, to actually connect to the wallet to the blockchain in a trust minimized sort of way, it sometimes becomes necessary. Have you found that? Where do you think the balance is between doing everything like the right way, the most decentralized private way, but also making sure the user is not going to just hate the product and do something else?
It's hard to say where the balance is because we whenever possible, at least in our first years, we try to first thing, we always try to use our own when it comes to core libraries, we try to build them ourselves. Yeah, for example, we might be like one of the very first people who built a Bitcoin library on Swift. Yeah, and on Kotlin as well. There were some Java libraries back then, and everyone was using that, but it was a fairly bloated library, and and we didn't want to build on top of that. So we took that approach. The reason we took that approach, because we always wanted to make sure that that all the coins that we support, they work in a decentralized manner. Yeah. So if there is if we are not around at some point, users are still able to send and receive coins, without relying on some centralized server or API service. Yeah. So, and when it comes to that, so the cost you have as a result is that sometimes the blockchain can be really slow, and Bitcoin is good in that regard. Dash is good in that regard. They are fairly acceptably fast, I would say. Yeah. Litecoins also, but like when it comes to, for example, privacy coins, it's a challenge. You have to spend a few. Well, if you're a regular user, and like the most time if you're occasionally, let's say, not using a wallet for a week, you'll have to maybe wait for a minute or so for a wallet to kind of sync itself with the blockchain. But when it comes to privacy coins, for example, like Zcash and Monero, it's the same for both, basically. But the thing is, it's improving, and it's not just us working on that, right? There are lots of teams which target specific part of the protocol, specific issues that are at the moment, and sync speed is one of those. It's just wider community are not really aware of that, but those who are involved with that specific blockchain developing, they do know about it. Yeah. So I can tell you that there has been a great progress on the Zcash in that manner. There is a company, I forgot its name. I think it's called Zangi. Yeah. So they built a new sync, Pepper Sync, and and it's fairly fresh right now. So not a lot of, no one has to my knowledge, no one has really integrated it yet, but that would cut down sync time significantly. And the same can be applied to other blockchains as well. I mean, there is a lot of stuff happening on the Monero side right now. They're switching like cryptography algorithms. And the question for us as a wallet provider, the question will be, okay, how that would affect the sync after that, you know. We don't anticipate any issues with that, yeah, but we'll see, you know. Once the code hits the mainnet, we will work on that. So Bitcoin as well has its sync changing as well. You know, there is a few years ago they introduced neutrino protocol. It's a bit more private than, well, not, it's more private than Bloom filters, which are currently being used. Yeah, and yeah, it also improves the sync a bit. So there are basically there are lots of ways we try to look for to improve this sync speed, but sometimes you simply can't. And it happened with the Ethereum. It's not a private blockchain, but you could, at the very least, you could have kept a level of privacy by untangling yourself from Infura, you know, or some other HPC provider, because it's very centralized in that way. You know, when you have a wallet, it talks to blockchain through a middleman, basically. And that middleman knows everything about you. They know your IP address, they know your transactions, they know, well, they know everything. Yeah. So, and we spent actually nearly maybe 6 months building a light client for it based on specifications, but just to find out that it would be unusable, and we had to drop it because no one wants to. I mean, you can convince someone to keep a device open for half an hour, you know, maybe, and it's still problematic. But like asking someone to keep it for like a day, that's not really an option. And that was the case with Ethereum, and that was really like a long time ago. So, but going back to a question, it's hard, and essentially, what we kind of had to accept that you cannot really deliver full privacy or full decentralization on a mobile phone right now. You cannot. You can deliver something that's acceptably good, and it's a subjective acceptably good. I mean, for us it's acceptably good, and yeah, we basically have to trust our gut what is acceptable and what is not. But yeah, and it's not just comes to sync, but a lot of aspects. Yeah, like when it comes to, let's say, privacy coins like Zcash or Monero, there is a privacy protocol on the blockchain itself, and it can be perfect. It can be really good, you know. But when wallets start implementing it, there is a lot of things that wallet can get wrong. Sometimes it can be some basic networking things, like, I don't know, not basically exposing users where they don't need to be exposed. Yeah, and sometimes it can be just a UX issue, you know, like as in the case with Zcash. You need to kind of make it clear to people how your UX should be structured in a way where it's where the people who are not familiar with how privacy works on Zcash are not really using it in a wrong way. So your UX should kind of warn them, okay, now you should shield your balance, wait a bit, you know. If you're making it easier for the user to receive and instantly shield and send to somewhere else, well, it looks like an obvious way someone would want to use it, you know, but it's not a good use case. Yeah, it's kind of jeopardizes the privacy of the user. So yeah, it's hard to find this perfect balance.
Yes, of course. And user behavior is always something it's hard to predict and hard to
Yeah.
get them to work with. And so defaults are very kind of useful with that. So have you, it's kind of interesting how there was definitely a time in the early days of crypto, everything was new. A lot of people might have done things the right way in terms of maximum decentralization, things like that, probably because that was all there was then. Then we hit this phase of, for lack of a better term, maybe Ethereum started it, but I would call it the Solanification of the space, where everything became sort of more commercialized and a lot of compromises were made as far as like supply in the control of founders or foundation or decentralization shortcuts and things like that. And now, over the last, I've noticed this happening for at least a year, if not more. There's been a building of interest in privacy and sovereignty and kind of a return to cypherpunk values. I've noticed this for at least a year, but then beginning in October, the markets reacted in a very dramatic way to especially Zcash, but really a lot of privacy based assets, as well as a lot of more old school assets. Like, for example, Digibyte did pretty well, and Digibyte is not a, it doesn't have any privacy features really, but it's still like a 11-year-old coin that has, you know, no foundation or any of that kind of stuff. So have you seen from, I guess, the unstoppable side of things, have you seen a growth in interest in this technology and privacy and sovereignty, et cetera, over the last year and then especially the last month?
Uh, well, we we don't really know much. I mean, about we don't really have analytics on the unstoppable side. I mean, we do. It's like opt-in and so on, but it's very limited in the type of things we can understand about what kind of features people use. So. So in that regard, I cannot really say, okay, we had a sudden influx of new users like using privacy coins. So I don't know that. Yeah, but what do we know is that we have a lot of uh, our main communities. So the main sort of feedback that we usually receive, it's either from the Bitcoin, Monero, or Zcash. So, I mean, sometimes people can send you a bug of related to, like, I don't know, Tron blockchain or EVM or something else. But for the most part, we are we are used by, I would say, Bitcoiners and privacy people with a heavy focus on privacy. Yeah, and I would, and for me, it's hard to say whether it started a year ago because, well, last 3 or 4 years we are kind of most of our features, they're either security or a privacy side of feature. So
Of
that's
course.
how we kind of uh, yeah, that's kind of what we go by when look at what feature should be added next. If it brings more privacy to the wallet or more security, that's two aspects we'll look at. And mm, so yeah, but I'm pretty sure, you know, that the for the last maybe 3 4 months there were a lot of new users throughout all wallets, probably, you know, looking for a wallet to store and use a privacy coin they are trying to buy, you know. It may be easier for some and harder for other, you know, like yeah, you cannot really easily buy certain privacy coins like Monero. You need some kind of a bit of know-how for that. With Zcash, it's a bit better, but it's still also fairly limited. Uh, so uh, yeah, yeah. But looking at Twitter in general, at crypto Twitter,
Yeah.
I think privacy is at least it looks like, and I'm really happy about it, that privacy seems like a narrative of that cycle, long overdue. I think we've been looking like expecting this maybe back in 2020 or 21, but yeah, it's good that at the very least we are talking about privacy and not just like, I don't know, uh, a launch pad to launch meme coins, so that was kind of weird. uh, yeah, privacy looks like a narrative, and I think it's on time because uh, you have a lot of CBDCs coming up. You have a lot of regulations in different parts of the world, uh, like about like digital euro and so on, basically affecting people how they are going to be spending their funds, and so yeah, it's good that we are getting back into privacy because otherwise it might be a bit late. Yeah, because yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It's I always think it's sort of late, but personally, my prediction was that the next bull market, meaning let's just say 4 years from now, is when privacy is going to become sort of mandatory for any crypto project to really succeed. And so I sort of predicted a privacy bump, but more further out. Like it is very encouraging to see it start to hit the mainstream at the end of this cycle instead of later. So I definitely think the other thing is, yes, there are a lot. The government is never very. There's never anything encouraging from the government for the most part around the world. It's usually bad news. But I also think that we have seen very little so far as yes, there have been bad actions, but it's sort of just the beginning. As I try to tell people, because as I people like myself use crypto as money, but sometimes trying to get
Yeah.
other people to, I had to realize that in at least in the West, in U.S., Canada, Western Europe, the average person can buy over 99% of everything they want to buy with their bank card with no restrictions. Everything they want is available. And in other countries, maybe there's more purchases that are censored, that they have to do other things to do it. But I do believe we will have a lot of restrictions and censorship and things like that in the future, just not today, but maybe in 1, 2, 3 years. Then we'll see the real what they like to call like a privacy god candle, when it's not just going to be Zcash got a big pump and a bunch of other coins kind of came along with it, but it's more like systemic, like everyone's going to be on board.
Yeah, I I personally think we are at war. I think with it's hard to name that specific entity, but I don't think it's like a one specific entity or organization that we are trying to we're at war with. It's this whole establishment of those that have that control the money, that control who has access to markets. So and they cannot outright ban it, right? Because okay, Bitcoin became mainstream, ETF got approved, so we are kind of in that approved zone right now, right? And so what they are trying to do now is to make sure that it's fully transparent and controlled within that. They want to give us some freedom, like okay, it's fine that you keep your stables in a non-custodial wallet, because we can always ping Tether and ask them to block certain accounts whenever there is a need to, So, but so they try to remove the privacy and control it as much as possible. But the good news is, and I think what's really encouraging right now is that ultimately everything that can potentially be built with that technology will be built. It's like, the genie is out of the bottle. You can no longer put the blockchain cryptography zk's back into the bottle. So the code is there. It's a matter of um, it's a matter of developers and teams and product managers, those who design the software, go and try to understand how to combine different protocols to deliver people something, something that hasn't been there before. Yeah, like for example, when Ethereum became popular, okay, what we knew that back then, okay, that you can build DAOs on the Ethereum, and which is cool, Uh, but then we had this ICO booms, and a lot of tokens came up, And the problem was that, okay, you still had to go to a centralized exchange to do anything with them, And then AMMs came, which kind of became liberating, that you no longer have to ask anyone to do trading, right? Then, and now we have like cross-chain swaps, and now we have privacy coming on board. So I think it's maybe, and that's one of the areas that we work on right now. We actually trying to build a private DEX, a DEX where you can trade any token that's tradable, and have no and do not really leak anything, like your balances, your history, and so on. So yeah, so I think regulators, they just don't get it. They had sort of, it took them a while to understand what non-custody is, that someone can actually keep their funds, and they kind of still processing that part, but there is so much of things that this technology enabled us to do, and we are just haven't built those things yet. And yeah, and regulators, they do not get that yet. That's why I think we are not, which is a good thing, because they're not, or maybe they are trying to actively ban it wherever it's possible, because yeah, the reality the reality is, if you have a bank account, and regardless of whether you have an exchange in your country that's fully regulated and allowed to do trading, there is a good chance that your bank account will not let you send there any funds. And I'm talking about people who are in the same country with the exchange, And when it comes to like yeah, like non-Western world, if yeah, I am pretty much sure that more than 90% of those people are cut out. Their bank accounts are cut out from the crypto in general.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely. Have you seen? I mean, my perspective, of course, I have most awareness about way things go in the U.S. as well as Canada and the EU. That's where I have most of the visibility on this. As far as like the world outside of that, have you seen a good news in terms of regulators, the way they treat crypto, or has it been more bad news, or kind of how has it been going compared to let's say the EU, for example?
Well, like we keep hearing that in the news, so that certain like bills are passed, and so on. But in practice, um, and when I say in practice, it's like, let's take a physical person or a business working in the crypto space, or a business that wants to do something with crypto, like, I don't know, taking part of their profits and buying Bitcoin. Very simple use case. So in practice, I didn't see any, yeah, any improvements. To be honest, I think it's actually feels like that the banks, for the most part, are really against it. Right now, everyone talks about stable coins, but I think the real use case of the stable coins is to replace the banks, because all those startups, at least that are being built right now, for the most part, they are essentially built as a to kind of provide you an alternative mechanism to money transfers, basically to a Swift alternative or a SEPA alternative, because those uh, those systems have barriers in place that prevent people from using them the way they want. They are okay if you're paying anyone, let's say, for something that's non-crypto or whatever is
Mm-hmm.
allowed in their opinion. But if you're, let's say, uh, yeah, sending money from your European bank account to a Tether to buy USDT stablecoin, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there is, in my opinion, there is a good chance that most banks will block it. So those that are able to do so probably, yeah, either sort of VIP level customers, in my opinion. Yeah. But for an average Joe, for an average person, yeah, that's difficult. Yeah, I personally tested many of those services and for a while, and it has been a gradual. Uh, it became stricter and stricter over time, right? Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
if, let's say, you have you have four bank accounts in four different countries, and maybe 3 years ago all four would work. Now one of them may work. Yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
It's.
I think we are at there is a cold war, basically. Yeah. That
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've definitely noticed that as well, and I have seen that stablecoins in the very beginning used to be more like a trader's tool of how can someone lock in profits on an exchange without doing KYC and connecting a bank account. But then now they've sort of taken over a lot of cases, a lot of things. And so, for example, in the U.S., with the after the Genius Act was passed, now stablecoins are very easy to access, and it's made a lot of crypto on ramping a lot easier. But also, the banks are petitioning the government to restrict the staking rewards you could get from stablecoins because they say we can't compete with this. And so it does seem like there's this war going on, or this conflict going on, trying to between sort of the legacy financial institutions and the new financial institutions, but still institutions. It's like the new banks versus the old banks, and at some point, probably it's going to be just whatever that will just be the banks again or the stable coins, and we'll probably end up with a lot of the same restrictions as the old financial system, and so that's kind of the long game of crypto is to play for building something that will be necessary in the future when we still have to deal with a different form of bank censoring us and spying on us.
yeah. So the good news is that technology is there, and we have seen it that it works. That you can actually build things which are decentralized. And in my opinion, that the step from going from being able to swap tokens within one chain to cross chain was a major major step for us for a crypto overall. So and now we have another major step, which is a privacy, like zk's and stuff. So I think we'll see a lot of tools that will be built, which will which will basically make it impossible to uh, well, let's actually take an example. Let's say, right? We see that Bitcoin is kind of, well, let's call it mainstream, right? It's everywhere. USDT is everywhere, right? And they try to like regulate Monero and Zcash by delisting it from certain exchanges. And in many cases, it might be done by exchange themselves, but I don't think they have any options, like any freedom to actually uh, to to keep their individual or independent agenda. Yeah, they are very uh, they are very dependent on those that on those that control their bank accounts, basically, right? So exchanges right now the exchanges act as gatekeepers, so they delist Monero, and that's why people or Zcash and people are not able to buy them, right? But you right, what we're seeing right now, and this is a recent thing, it may be like few months, well, a year at most. We have Maya protocol, we have near intents, we have a few other um, DEXes, cross-chain DEXes being built, yeah, and those basically act as a bridge between what crypto is allowed and what crypto is not allowed or desired, right? So, and the thing is, you cannot do anything about it. So the most, I mean, yeah, I don't think how you can enforce any kind of compliance to ensure that there is no money flowing from Bitcoin or even USDT into Monero or Zcash. Even if they decide to ban it, it's impossible to enforce it, right? And now they can see those flows, but when you have a product which will mask that and you cannot see those flows, yeah, yeah, that becomes so all they'll be able to do then is just assume that there is a lot of activity going on in that domain or that domain which they do not like, but it will be an assumption at best, and they'll not know for sure. So basically, I think that uh, the most effective way for a for a com- for a regulators, those that want to regulate crypto with a good face. So the most effective way to do that would be to actually win the hearts of crypto or developers or people who are behind that, so that we actually try to build things which are in so that we kind of have a mutual understanding the way things should be built. Yeah. And yeah, and right now it doesn't seem that way. So right now things are built as a reaction. So they try to ban it, and you have instruments which basically allow you to use it. Yeah, you still have and yeah, mm, they thought, okay, they can control stable coins by having like freeze actions within the stable coin. Well, okay, but people can now use DAI, LUSD, and some other stables, and if the freezes become more and more popular, then there will be more and more people using them.
Yeah, of course. Now, with the DEX rails, of course, the DEX world is very important to the future. And so far, it has really made the unlistable coins listable again. Now, with Thorchain famously came under a lot of fire because the North Korean hackers were using it to swap funds from, Ethereum to Bitcoin, for example, and many interfaces blocked that, of course, but the actual network never did. And it seems like that was the most forbidden thing to happen, and nothing stopped it in the end. And as far as I am aware, no one went to prison for it yet. So, do you think this is a big turning point where a lot of government and law enforcement will just accept that they don't have power to directly control DEXs, and they'll try to kind of control them before they get there or after they leave it? Or do you think that they're gearing up for another big attack in the future where they will try to actually stop these DEXs and like arrest developers and things like that?
Uh, it's hard to say because the government is not like homogeneous, right? You have like Trump and
Of
his
course.
enterprise promoting crypto from all sides. To my knowledge, their family is like quite invested in crypto, and like Trump Jr. He talks about Bitcoin being the he looks at Bitcoin as a way to stay in the game when banks are against you, and I think that's one of the that's one of the key properties of that tech. Not just like that the number goes up, like most people are, so in that regard, you have people who are close to power and are very supportive of that, and then you have a lot of global politics that is based uh, on the notion that you can make that if someone is disagrees with you, then you can kind of blackmail or control them by through the financial system. So and yeah, it's hard to say how that will play out. Right now, we see like, yeah, I think you've been following the samurai. Uh,
Of
was it
course.
the samurai death? Yeah, yeah, I think so. He was jailed, and then there is a tornado cash death going through some issues too. At the same time, we have like Railgun, which is still fairly small protocol, trying to do things in a compliant way where you basically maintain your level of the privacy you want, but at the same time can prove that you're not involved in any kind of illicit activity. So it's I think in order for the for the crypto to for the regulators to stop putting like barriers, a mind shift. It requires a change of the mind shift, that like yeah, and yeah, it needs basically we need more and more new gen people coming into the positions of power that can see that okay, you actually need privacy for certain things, that people might not want to reveal their private purchases to everyone, and yeah, and but the current reality is that most of them that are in power now, they are very much against crypto, and they look at it as a yeah, as something that a white most of the people should not be using.
Yeah, that's for sure. Is there anything that is upcoming in the future, whether it's for Unstoppable or whether it's just something else in the greater crypto space that you're looking forward to or particularly excited about?
Our private DEXes, I think that's a major thing that's currently missing. We kind of achieved a lot over the last year because pretty much every major crypto coin is accessible to anyone right now. It's still not easy. You sometimes need to use a few wallets and a few tools to that, but it's being I think integrated and built into products fast, and soon every major wallet will support every major crypto and ability to get it, sell it, buy it, and so on. What's missing now is the privacy part. So, and that might be uh, the next major milestone, I think, for the industry in general.
Yeah, private dexes. That's going to be interesting, especially because of exploits and inflation bugs and things like that. It would make being harder to detect with private architecture. So that'll be an interesting challenge I hope to see solved. So where could people follow you specifically, and also Unstoppable? Like for example on X.
We are on Twitter, and that's pretty much the only platform where we post our updates. We are also on Telegram, but Twitter is our main channel, and it's at Unstoppable by HS. Back when we launched, we were the only Unstoppable uh, well, the only product with unstoppable in the name, and now it's a common thing. People people now labeled the phrase unstoppable private money.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so we are on Twitter, and yeah,
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, well, thanks for talking today. This was very enlightening chat, and yeah, I hope you have a good one.
you too. Take care. Bye. Thanks for having me.
Peace.